Hey viewers, and we are on to another week, and we are going to do a brand new project number 9, which is going to be music. My name is Roy, I'm a web designer. If you do find the video useful, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and let's get into the video. What we're going to do is we're going to use the lean startup canvas to break down the whole project: problem, audience, UVP, and solutions. And if you haven't done this before, this is a really good starting point for any project. It's very light research into the topic. It's going to give you a better idea of what you're going to focus on, especially if you get into a startup. It is really good to focus on these 4 areas, and sometimes a startup hasn't realized these 4 areas. So doing a bit of research before you dive into the design or any development is a good place to start. So, the problem. Again, we're not trying to be too serious with these projects. It can be very simple and loose. So this one is alternate artists for content creation. So as an example, Daft Punk, they recently retired. I'm a big fan of Daft Punk, and as a content creator, can we find alternate artists? And I'm sure there's billions of ways of doing this, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of platforms out there that do this, but we are just going to narrow down our focus to Daft Punk and alternate artists. So, target audience. It's impossible to please everyone. Again, we are going with Generation Y or Millennials, and it's very good to focus your audience because then you know how to tailor your design. There was an article on OutCrowd where they talk about target audience, and they specify different things that you need to prioritize your design. So in order to narrow down the audience even more, there's a really good book that I recommend by Amy Jo Kim, Game Thinking, and this one is where you want to narrow down your idea to super fans. So I don't want to spoil the whole book for you, but the whole thing behind this is if you can narrow down your idea to super fans, or you can find super fans, you want to get your idea or prototype to them, and you want to then test the idea, get feedback from them early on. And then once you've got cool features and they're happy with it, you can then move on to you can probably look at beta, or you can look at opening up to a bigger audience. So for example, there's one recent app, which is Clubhouse, where they only had an invitation or exclusive invite only. So you have to know someone that's in the app and they have an invite. And probably one of the reasons why an app that is new that does this is because they don't want to open up to everyone. They only want to open up to certain users, and then they can test, they can get feedback, they can react, they can improve the app whilst it's not open up to the public. And then when the fans or the really super users, when they've ironed out issues, they can then open up to the public. So anyway, Game Thinking, highly recommend it. Amy Jo Kim, check it out. Okay, so the unique value proposition. What is the product's primary reason you are different and worth buying? So again, we're keeping it very simple. It doesn't have to be so amazing, the idea. The whole point of this is just to practice design, and we're just thinking of different ideas, fun ideas, not so serious, in the future, present. So what we're going to focus on is electronic, synth, retro, 80s kind of music, which is kind of Daft Punk's area. And another thing to point out is, for projects, if you're following along, you don't have to do this type of music. It could be something that you prefer, that you like, that you want to focus on. Okay, so solutions. What is the minimum feature set, MVP, that demonstrates the UVP? So again, this could be very simple. We're just looking at a search, maybe a search, and it's curated lists by content creators like myself or other even bigger content creators. So the name, again, this is a very generic name. Naming is a very hard thing. So what I thought of is alternate artists. So that's 2 words, but one tip is to try and shorten it and just have alt. So alt artist is the name for this project. Okay, so the brand values, again, we're keeping it very loose. Again, we're going with retro, we're going with simple and fun. Okay, and the last thing as well, a big tip for beginners out there is looking at inspiration and competition. So inspiration, again, if you look at music, depending on what you're trying to create, Spotify is obviously a really good app to look up to look at all their UI patterns, how they do their different lists, how they do their view pages, their detail pages, how is the play, how does the play work, the different interactions on their app. So again, Spotify is a really good example to look at when you're trying to do any design in terms of music, a music app. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. So in the next video, we're gonna do the logo, and again, we're gonna stick with the brief. We're gonna go retro. This is one of my favorite areas because I'm from the 80s, so I do love the 80s and electronic and synth type of music. So I'll see you then.